Hey, whoops. My name is Rich Freeland, aka Disasterpiece. I wrote the music for Fez and some other stuff. So I'm going to talk about music. Big surprise. For most of human history, music, like life, has been impermanent. Each performance was unique and unpredictable, heard once and then gone forever. This impermanence, which you can still hear if you go to a live performance, has great potential to create meaning. If you go to a really good show, the events you're witnessing might even feel important somehow. The invention of recording technology, though, has done a lot to change our relationship to music and to introduce the possibility of repeating music in an effectively identical way. Many of us have become accustomed to listening to recordings, and in games, we've become accustomed to listening to loops. Video game music is generally made up of permanent elements, like assets. How can we bring the sum of those elements together to mimic the impermanence of live music? Imagine a really great game that takes maybe 15 minutes to play. Every time you play, the interactions feel fresh, and you could play it over and over and not grow tired of it. Now imagine that same game also has a 1-minute piece of music that loops. If you play the game 100 times, the gameplay may be varied enough to keep your interest, but you're hearing the same 1-minute piece of music 1,500 times. So why would you do this to your player? Why would you even bother having music at all if you're going to invite them to hear something so much that it's rendered completely meaningless? And yet, a repeated piece of music has some strengths. It can do a strong job of communicating an idea to a player. When you hear the underground music in Mario, you know you're underground. You know you have to look out for a different set of obstacles. Also, repeatable music has the benefit of allowing creators to finally tailor the intended listening experience. The musical outcome is known. It's predictable, which can be good sometimes. So how can we embrace the strengths of repeatable music while softening its ugly edges in a way that pays tribute to our long tradition of live performed music? And here are some examples that I think are doing this successfully. Has anyone played this game, Kentucky Route Zero? It's pretty awesome. So Kentucky Route Zero uses ambience first and foremost, and triggers music sparsely and tastefully to underline certain moments. For example, in the first scene of the first act, after the protagonist returns from the basement of this gas station, an ambient piece of music communicates a progression in the story. And as far as I can tell from playing the game, you only hear this piece of music once, and instead of looping, it just gradually withers away. This sort of approach gives a sense of the passing of time and is present throughout the game, and this is the kind of idea that is much more prominent in our tradition of impermanence in music. So Proteus is pretty cool. I don't exactly know what's going on under the hood of Proteus, but I think that's part of what makes it so successful as an audio-visual experience. As you move around the environment, the music reacts in a way that simultaneously feels rational and yet unpredictable. And in this way, it has a strong similarity to live music. You rarely feel like you're hearing the exactness of a repeated recording. And any good rant wouldn't be complete without a shameless plug. So this is a screenshot from my music game, January. Instead of using structured musical recordings, this game is made up of music assets that are very small in length. Each is a single note. But they are continually rearranged in different sequences which are musical and never sound quite the same. The intended effect is to be similar to the act of a musician improvising, both in terms of which notes to play, how, and when. I think it's also important not to forget about the power of silence. Silence gives the player room to breathe or can evoke a particular emotion, such as the eeriness of the film No Country for Old Men. Here are some quotes. I like quotes. Music is the space between the notes, Claude Debussy. Don't play everything, or every time. Let some things go by. Some music is just imagined. What you don't play can be more important than what you do. Thelonious Monk. The fact that we all pass away gives meaning to our lives. If we can honor the tradition of letting music pass too, and other things in games, then maybe we create more meaningful musical experiences. Thank you.